Making picks for the regular season finales around the NFL, some playoff implications, especially for Packers, Seahawks, Eagles, Saints, Bucks, and the NFC South. All that and more coming up on today's Peacock and Williamson.
NFL analyst Brian Peacock and former NFL scout Matt Williamson bring you expert NFL analysis every day in less than 30 minutes. Get an inside look into the NFL on the field and in the front office. With elite breakdowns, next-level analysis, and in-depth information only for the real NFL fans. This is Peacock and Williamson, and it starts now.
Welcome to the Peacock and Williamson NFL Show. Brian Peacock alongside Matt Williamson at BD Peacock at Williamson NFL. Thanks, everybody, for making us your first listen every day here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. That's what we do. And on this day, we are making picks for Week 18. Love all the everydayers out there. Make sure you're subscribed on YouTube and everywhere you get your podcast. Today's episode of Peacock and Williamson is brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. All right, here we go. We did our 6-pack of favorite picks and talked about those Saturday games, Steelers and then Texans, Colts, which is a really good one. Talked about the Jaguars and the AFC South a little bit on yesterday's show. Focus a little bit more to start here on the NFC. We got some AFC conversations as well. I want to begin with the Green Bay Packers and their wild card spots in the NFC. And this is a fascinating one because the Bears are a team that is going to dominate the conversation in the offseason with the number one pick in the draft, Justin Fields and Matt Eberflus, the head coach, and what they do. And this Week 18, Matt, Bears at Packers, this is the Bears Super Bowl. And I think there's huge motivation. You sent me an article, and it's was it from Establish the Run about the motivation? Is that the
yes. The website Established the Run.
Yes. For
fantasy reasons, kind of ranked every team from 1 to 10 in terms of how much do they really have to play for. Don't start your guy. Don't start Lamar Jackson. He's not going to play. That type of thing. So I thought that was a nice, useful tool for us as well. Yeah.
Yeah. And so you have a team like the Packers that's a 10 motivation. And you would think, the Bears don't have high motivation. But I think this is their Super Bowl. There's guys
I do too
for their jobs. And so just because they don't have motivation for the playoffs, I think they still have huge motivation here. And this is like the Bears would love nothing more than to knock off that team where their old quarterback talked about ownership and go into their house. And Justin Fields this week said that the Green Bay Packers fans are great because there's nothing else to do but watch football in Green Bay. And so kind of gave him a shot. He gave him a compliment and a shot at the same time.
A little backhanded compliment, yeah.
And, this might be the last time Justin Fields plays for the Bears. But, the way they've ended this season, he's maybe earning his future job with the Bears too. And it's still auditioning potentially for other teams. And Matt Eberflus obviously wants to keep his job as head coach. And they would love nothing more. They're going to be fired up. There's no game next week. There's no reason to not play hard. So I think this is motivation 10 out of 10 on both sides for these two teams. And this is a really fun game for me. So I wanted to start here and obvious playoff implications for the Green Bay Packers. They have to win this game. Let's go through that scenario here for the Green Bay Packers. So the Packers, pull it up here. The Packers clinch a playoff berth with a win. So they win, they're in. This is a playoff game for the Packers. And then you go into tie scenarios and then Seahawks losses. And if the Saints lose and the Seahawks lose, and the Packers still tie, they can get in. Vikings, Seahawks, Bucks, Saints, and there's all these losses, then maybe the Packers can still get in if they don't win. But if they win, they're in. It's really that simple for the Packers. And they want to be over 500, not under 500 to finish this year. So big one for the Green Bay Packers against the Bears. It's a fun one for me. And of course, the Packers are favored in this game by 3 points. Who you got, Matt?
So here we sit, January 5th. Everyone's got one game to play. There's still 20 teams that can win the Super Bowl. I mean, isn't that exactly what the league wants? I mean, all of us to have great interest here. And the Bears aren't one of them, but I'm with you. I think they are going to play like crazy. I think they're the most interesting team of the offseason. I bet we talk more Bears from Super Bowl until, opening day than maybe any team in the league, maybe not Niners and Steelers aside. We have a tendency to lean that way. But that being said, I think they're going to play hard as can be. They got the first overall pick locked up. They don't even care if they win this one and all of a sudden, their pick that they own gets a little later. So what? It's definitely worth it. Their defense is playing tremendous. Fields, DJ Moore, they're starting to turn a corner as well. I think their coaching staff will be in place. Man, I love what the Packers are doing, though. I mean, Jordan Love with this young group of offense is playing really, really well. Like one of the best offenses in the league. So something's got to give, I just want the points. I mean, that's what I'm going with on this one. I don't know who wins. I feel like this should be 1.5. I think the points are a little heavy, so I'm taking the points here.
Yeah, I thought I would be in the minority taking the points here, but I am as well. And apologies because I've pretty much been jinxing the Bears for over a calendar year now. I'm going to take here against the Packers, which means that the Packers are going to blow them out and go earn that playoff spot.
Very well could happen. I kind of forgot about your recent history with the Bears, but you kind of the opposite on the opposite day with them.
I haven't been documenting it. It's on the podcasts, but I haven't been keeping track. I'm pretty sure I've gotten the Bears pick wrong every single week this season. I've picked them to win 9 times, they lost, and I picked them to lose 7 times, and they won those games. I'm pretty sure that's how it went. So
you're taking the points, which means I should run to the sports book right now and put Green Bay -3 or whatever.
You know what? For the Bears fans out there, if it makes you feel better, Packers by 1 million.
There you go, just to make Bears fans happy, huh?
So the Seattle Seahawks obviously are one of the big teams that the Packers are battling for a spot here, and the Seahawks have stumbled. I thought they were going to be a lock to be a playoff team here, and it turned out to be the Rams instead of the Seahawks going into Week 18. So the Seahawks need a win and a Packers loss. So Seahawks are rooting hard for those Packers to lose. Then they have to handle their business and go win against the Arizona Cardinals. And the Seahawks are favored by 2.5 points on the road at the Cardinals. This one's the opposite for me. I think. The Cardinals are going to play hard. I don't see it quite as much as the Bears. I do like that the Cardinals are at home here, but I like the Seahawks big in this one. So, give me the Seattle Seahawks, and I'll give up those 2.5 points on the road at Arizona.
Yeah, I don't think it's enough points for me, but I like the over. I think both these offenses are doing really good things. I like how Kyler's playing. Connor, had a huge game last week. I think Seattle's offense is very dangerous. I did so much Seahawk work because they just played the Steelers, and their defense is really bad. I mean, the Steelers pushed them around in a big way, and I think Arizona might do the same. Connor might have another big game. Geno Smith was also under pressure, like 50% of his dropbacks against the Steelers. I mean, they only sacked him once or twice, but so they have O-line and defense issues, but I think there's going to be a lot of points in this game. I'm going to take the points. I thought it'd be a little bit smaller number.
Yeah, same here. All right, no, I'm the opposite of that.
You're the opposite.
It should be a bigger number because I like the Seahawks in this one because the Cardinals aren't talented enough and haven't
they're not
level. And they had a nice little game against the Eagles last week, but the Eagles have their own problems as well. And the Seahawks and the Eagles kind of stumbling into the playoffs here. And you look at Geno Smith and maybe gets too much blame for the season that they're having because his numbers aren't quite as good as they were before, but it's really been the defense of the Seahawks that's let him down. But I just don't know if the Cardinals are good enough to take advantage because I've seen the Cardinals play some games where, teams just lean on them. And, they had a nice game last week, but I don't expect that to continue for the Cardinals. Give me the Seahawks here, more motivation. And,
you talked me out of it. I'm going to. What was the number again? 3?
2.5. So
okay, under 3.
Seahawks field goal. Come on.
Yeah, I'm with you. You convinced me, but I like the over more than anything in this game.
I can see a lot of points for sure. And the Philadelphia Eagles are at the New York Giants. This is a score watching game, right? Eagles favored by 5 on the road. They've seen the Giants 2 out of 3 weeks, which probably benefits the Giants. And that last game was pretty close. So Philly on the road at New York. Again, this is another. I love all these division battles, and I didn't give the Cardinals enough credit for their division rivalry. I just don't think it's as strong as Packers-Bears and as strong as Giants-Eagles. I like the Giants in this one. And so give me the points. Give me the home dog Giants to spoil things for the Eagles, even if it is close with Cowboys-Commanders. But this could be a game, and we were talking about it off the air, Matt, where all of a sudden halfway through, Cowboys are up big against the Commanders. That Cowboys-Commanders game, we made picks for that one on our Thursday six-pack. If that one's a blowout for the Cowboys, maybe the Eagles just sit guys in the second half anyway.
Yeah, and this is the only game I'm really going to predict that to happen. I mean, I think Dallas pulls away early, and then the Eagles realize, what are we doing here? Let's get Hurts and A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith's already questionable. Let's just get all those guys out of this game and start thinking about our wild card opponent. Meanwhile, the Giants are playing for jobs, not necessarily the coaching staff, but they're playing for respectability. You know what I mean?
The Giants, one of those teams in our mailbag that we should have mentioned them as maybe a surprise firing.
Maybe,
or for our coaching staff, if ownership doesn't like the way things have ended here with the New York Giants, even though their quarterback got hurt, there was they were worse with their quarterback early in the season than they've been late with their backups and third stringers and Tommy DeVito filling in New York, and it kind of figured some things out. But yeah, this game can go a lot of ways. And, for the Eagles, there's no motivation unless they're going to win that second seed because they're locked into the 5 seed. They can't, fall behind the Packers or the Seahawks or the Rams or anything like that. So they might be sitting people in the fourth quarter, depending on what's going on with that score watching with the Cowboys game.
So I'm definitely taking the points. I do think the Giants are playing hard. I think Tyrod Taylor's a big step up from DeVito as well. I mean, he's a legit strong backup. Mm-hmm. And frankly, even if the Eagles played this thing straight up, I still might take the points. I mean, they're not playing well.
Yeah, we saw that 2 weeks ago. And that was
right.
5-point game, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And now it's in the Giants' house.
Yeah. So I'm pretty comfortable taking the points here. I think it could go 2 ways that we win.
All right. Next, we got more games, especially on the AFC side, but things to be determined still for the Bucs and Saints in the NFC South. Next. Today's episode of Peacock and Williamson is brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs. When you're talking about the start of a new year, every small business owner is asking themselves the same question. What's the one thing I can do to make 2024 the year that I take my business to the next level? LinkedIn Jobs knows that your success all depends on the team you surround yourself with. Really not much different than sports. That's why LinkedIn Jobs has created the tools to help find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. And LinkedIn just isn't some other job board. We're talking about a billion professionals on the network at LinkedIn, which makes it the best place to hire. Hiring is easy when you have that many quality candidates. So easy, in fact, 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours of posting their jobs at LinkedIn Jobs. It's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs number one in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. So post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Let's go to the Saints-Bucs scenarios here. And the Tampa Bay Buccaneers obviously control their destiny in the South. And they are at the worst team in the NFL, the Carolina Panthers. On the road at 8-8. Tampa Bay favored by 4.5 on the road. And then the Saints are hosting the Falcons. The Saints at 8-8. Kind of package these two games together here. Saints at home against the Falcons favored by 3. Falcons can play spoilers. The Panthers can kind of play spoilers as well. Looking at Tampa, they clinch if they win, or, we're talking about ties plus the Saints loss. Basically, Tampa Bay wins, they're in. For the New Orleans Saints, they would clinch the NFC South with a win plus a Bucs loss. So they need a Bucs loss and then need to win against the Falcons, but they can also win and then they need a Packers loss and a Seahawks loss and a lot of help otherwise. So this is pretty much Saints win, and then they're watching the Buccaneers, they're watching the Seahawks, and they're watching the Packers.
Yeah, interesting South scenario here. And what I feel strongest about is the Bucs blowing the doors off Carolina. I just think this team's in such a bad spot. Their defense has gotten a little bit more respectable of late, but I still think Baker's a quality player, and Evans and Godwin and White, I think they'll throw for a lot of yards against these guys. I don't think that number's nearly big enough. It should be like 8 to me. I mean, I could see the Panthers really putting a poor effort into this one. And I'm going to take the Saints narrowly, even with the points. That's a big rivalry game to begin with. I think Arthur Smith is certainly coaching for his job. His seat should be very, very warm. But I just think the Saints are a little more trustworthy in their building, a little more well-rounded. So I like both favorites there, which kind of clouds up the whole playoff picture a little bit.
One thing I don't like is Baker Mayfield's rib injury from last week. So apparently Baker Mayfield would not have practiced, and I don't think the Buccaneers practiced Wednesday. Is that the report I'm seeing, if that's correct? And so not practicing Wednesday, he's going to give it a go. Baker Mayfield's going to try to play, and they're going to put him out there. This is, for their season. But he might not be 100%. Is that enough for the Carolina Panthers to knock them off? The Panthers are at home. I don't know if that's necessarily the case. It's only 4.5 points. They're a better football team. So, I mean, there's no way I can go other than the Buccaneers.
Yeah. I can't imagine putting a buck down on the Panthers right now.
And if it was a healthy, and to be honest with you, if you're getting 4.5 points right now, if on Sunday morning it's like, okay, Baker Mayfield's good to go, that number's going to jump.
Yeah, it doesn't seem right. I mean, it almost seems like too much if he doesn't play and not enough if he does.
It's kind of hedging. It's in the middle.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And I have a feeling he's going to play. And
me too.
And so hopefully he is 100%, because obviously that's what the Buccaneers need there. As far as the Saints
that just screams getting a shot on Sunday morning and gutting it
I mean,
out, and, you know what I mean?
He's not getting the Toradol for Wednesday practice, but he's going to get it Sunday to play the game.
Exactly. Yeah.
We've got flak jacket, everything. They'll the Charmin. They'll wrap them with whatever they can. So the Saints at 8-8, they need some help. They are at home and favored by 3 against those Falcons.
Yeah, I like the Saints in that one too. Again, I think that one's tighter, tougher, good rivalry. But I think the Saints at home is tough to bet against right now. Yeah, and I don't love where Atlanta's at.
A little aside here, Matthew Berry put out his too early fantasy ranks top 50 for next year.
Maybe we should talk about that next year.
And he had Bijan at like 12. And I saw that and I thought, that's fair, but it also means I'm going to have Bijan on all of my rosters next year, because I'll draft him like 3 overall, as long as there's a new coach in Atlanta.
There's a new coach. Yeah, he might be running back 2 behind McCaffrey.
I think we're going to see new coach, new quarterback, and the Falcons lose this game, and that's how it all ends. And then in a couple of days, we're talking about the firing. I just think that's the way things are going to go here, and the Saints are going to win this game at home by more than 3 against those Falcons. The way the Falcons played against the Bears last week is like, I think the writing's on the wall there.
I'm leaning that way as well. And they don't have a quarterback.
Yeah, right. And they would kill for Derek Carr level quarterbacking right now.
Oh,
Falcons would.
They would be the best team in the division, probably.
We've got the Vikings at the Lions here. The 7-9 Vikings are, I think, the team with the least chances that still have a chance to make the playoffs this year, Matt. At 7-9, they're on the road at the 11-5 Detroit Lions. Lions favored by 3.5 points here. Let me go through it really quick for the Vikings.
Yeah.
The Vikings clinch a playoff berth with a Vikings win, plus they need Packers loss, Seahawks loss, and either one of Bucks or the Saints to lose. So if the Saints and Bucks both win, the Vikings are out no matter what else happens. So they need a lot of help. They have to win. They need Packers loss. They need Seahawks loss, and they need one of Bucks or Saints to lose for the Vikings to sneak in and get that 7 seed in the NFC.
The Lions don't have to do anything, right? I mean, could they conceivably go from 2 to 3? Is that the only thing that they have to play for? I think that they're pretty locked in.
Let me find. I'm pretty sure the Lions.
Because I know they're playing. My point is, I know that they're playing everyone and they're biting kneecaps, but I don't know that it's worth it to do so. I think Campbell is a wonderful guy to root for, but can get too emotional with some of this stuff. And if he doesn't have Amon-Ra St. Brown or Aiden Hutchinson or somebody because of it, and then wild card round, that he might really regret this decision.
Well, the problem is the Lions, Eagles, and Cowboys are all 11-5.
Mm-hmm.
So the Lions lose because of that head-to-head against the Cowboys in a tiebreaker scenario. But the Lions play first. They play in the morning, 10 a.m.
So they're going to play hard.
Time. So they're going to try to win, because if they win and both Cowboys and Eagles lose, then they're the 2 seed instead of the 3. So they can only be 2 or 3. So it's probably
rest everyone anyways, but
I think that's probably all the motivation that Dan Campbell needs to to go to and knock the division opponent Vikings out too. Like this is they'll be biting kneecaps for sure. This one
they will be. So I'm going to take the Lions. I think they're much better. The Vikings quarterback situation is hit
Nick
the
Mullins.
end.
Nick Mullins will be starting again for the Vikings, and 3.5 points. I'll give it up for the Lions. For sure.
Me too, easily.
We went through the Jets, Patriots, and the Commanders, Cowboys, because talking about the number 2 pick, we went through that scenario yesterday on the Thursday 6-pack episode of Peacock and Williamson. So next we'll go through the rest of the schedule. We got 49ers, Rams, which turns out not to be super interesting.
But Wentz and Darnold are former picks. I mean, that's kind of fun to see those two.
It's interesting enough to kind of check in and take a peek at that. Yeah. Let's see what these two quarterbacks look like with better coaching and having not played in a calendar year. So more picks.
That's my thoughts on that.
Coming up next. Today's episode of Peacock and Williamson is sponsored by BetterHelp Online Therapy. Around New Year's, we get obsessed with how to change ourselves completely. You know, new year, new you. Let's roll that back and focus on the good parts of you and enhancing those and making a better you, not a new you, expanding on what is already going right for you, what you're already doing right. So, therapy helps you find your strengths so you can ditch the extreme resolutions and make changes that really stick. So if you're thinking about giving therapy a try BetterHelp. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, suited to your schedule. You're not rushing around after work, trying to get somewhere during your lunch break to have that face-to-face one-on-one. You can get a face-to-face one-on-one still entirely online. There's text and other ways to do things, and it's so flexible and convenient for you. And get therapy how you want it at BetterHelp. Just fill out a brief questionnaire. You get matched with a licensed therapist, switch therapists at any time for no additional charge, and celebrate the progress you've already made. Visit BetterHelp.com/lockedon today and get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp.com/lockedon. BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedon. All right, so let's finish up the NFC side of things here. We do have the 49ers and the Rams. 49ers hosting the Rams here. Niners are 1 seed no matter what happens. Brock Purdy not playing. Christian McCaffrey not playing. The Rams at 9-7. It could be 6 seed. It could be 7 seed for them, but I don't think that's enough for Sean McVay because he said, nope, Matthew Stafford's too valuable. He's going to sit. We got Carson Wentz versus Sam Darnold. Matt.
That's exciting. I mean, maybe these guys can revive their careers. Obviously, they have tons of talent, early picks. I just don't know what kind of help they're going to have around them. I mean, both these teams have bigger aspirations in mind. You're not going to see Aaron Donald and Bosa. I mean, just stars are going to be sitting. You know this better than I would. So I just want points.
So there's a rest versus rust thing for the 49ers because they do have a bye. And
them and the Ravens have that same situation.
Yeah. It was reported that I think you might be surprised how many starters play for the 49ers except for Purdy and Christian McCaffrey. I think we're going to see a preseason version of sort of a couple drives maybe. Trent Williams is going to start and he's going to play. That was probably the next one that I'd be like, man, really? Trent Williams is going to play in here? Because, his age and his injury history, he's kind of been nicked up a lot last few seasons. So I think we might see Bosa and Fred Warner and, Niners led the league with 9 Pro Bowlers. And we're going to see some of those guys out there in this game. We're going to see probably a little Kittle, a little Debo, and a little Ayuk. Not for that long. They're going to be out there, and then they're going to be out of the game. And then we're going to see a lot of the backups in the second half for sure, and probably at some point in the first half. But they're going to run them out there, and they've been kind of practicing all week. You don't want to be completely rusty going into the playoffs after that bye. So I think that's the thought process for the 49ers here in this one.
Understandable. I mean, I've done a lot of work with this because Steelers, Ravens, who the Ravens going to play, and they have a lot more injuries than the Niners, so they're sitting more. But it is hard to not. You only have 6 or 7 inactives, right? I mean, so you got to have somebody dressed and break glass if you need them, or have them play a little. So right. I'm still going towards the Rams. I just think I want the points.
I'm going to take the Niners because the quarterback situation, I think I have a little bit more faith on and knowing that some of those starters are still going to play a little bit for the 49ers.
You've at least seen Darnold play as a Niner. None of us have seen Wentz play.
Yeah, full offseason too. As Wentz showed up late with the Rams as well. And I think how good Stafford was playing this year is a big part of why the Rams are in the playoffs and 9-7 right now. And you take him out of the equation, I think that changes a lot for the Rams. And obviously Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp have been injured a lot too, so I wouldn't expect them to play a ton either. So give me the 49ers. I'll give up the 4 points. Niners favored by 4.
I'm not touching it, but I am interested in the two quarterbacks.
I wouldn't touch either. Too many unknowns. Who's playing, how that game's going to. And the other thing is, like, Wentz and Darnold could light it up with better coaching on a new team and fresh and haven't played in a year. They could combine for a half dozen interceptions too.
And games like this might just be handoff. Let's get out of here. You know, I mean, the way that they coach it.
Like Jordan Mason, start him. The Niners number 3 running back. He's gonna have 100 yards in this game. He's a good running back.
Yeah, there's some DFS steals out there if you know those type of things. Like I keep bringing up the Ravens. Like they're going to hand it to Melvin Gordon 400 times. You know, he's not good, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah, he'll get the touches, the volume.
Yeah.
We got the Broncos and the Raiders. These two teams, man, late in the year had a nice. They both had probably better seasons than I think we thought at 8-8 and 7-9, but too little, too late for these two teams. Las Vegas at home, favored by 3 points against Jarrett Stidham and the Denver Broncos.
Yeah, and maybe I'm crazy, but I think both these teams are going to play hard. I think Peyton wants to, establish a culture there. There's not a lot draft pick compensation that's going to screw them up. Pierce wants to keep a job. So I think both these teams kind of go all out, but neither one has great, they have young quarterbacks or unknown quarterbacks, more or less. I want the points. I mean, I think that's a pretty fair fight, to be honest with you. I'm a little surprised that the spread's as much as it is.
Jarrett Stidham revenge game?
How about that?
I don't think, to be honest with you, and Sean Payton has gotten so much grief the last, week or so with the old Russell Wilson decision and all of that. And I think he's telling us that Russell Wilson's, he doesn't think he's that good and not worried about having him in the future. And that Jarrett Stidham is the guy they went out and got and might not be that much worse than Russell Wilson anyway. Maybe, who knows, even better. I don't know. I'm going to take the points here as well. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. I think there's two good defenses with two bad quarterbacks. So give me points.
Chiefs, no motivation here. They're the 3 seed no matter what. Chiefs 10-6 at the 5-11 Chargers. They've already fired coaches. This is probably the game I'm least interested to see the entire weekend.
Yeah. I don't even know
Chargers
what to think
favored, by the way, by 3.5.
I guess I'll take the Chiefs. I mean, you're not going to see Chris Jones and Kelsey and Mahomes. And I mean, this is going to be a tough watch. The more I think about it, like Keenan Allen's not coming back for this either. And, does Eckler even want to play? I guess I'll take the
some of these stars too, like Bosa and Allen is the last have we already seen the last of them in a Chargers uniform?
I bet a handful of them. I mean, just contractually, you can't deal, Mac and Derwin James, and some of those guys are going to be elsewhere.
Wouldn't touch this game with the 10-foot pole.
You got to pick one though. You didn't give me
favored. Then that means I'm going to take the. I'm going to take the Chargers. Yeah, I'll take the Chargers.
Okay.
I'll give up the 3.5. I have no idea why, but I'm just going to. And maybe some swan song performances from some vets there in LA.
Maybe these garbage games, I just take points. I think the ones that I have no idea how to predict them or matchups. Just give me points.
And here we go. We got Bills-Dolphins to finish up the regular season. Love this one in prime time. The Buffalo Bills at 10-6 against the 11-5 Dolphins. This is for the East. This is a fascinating game here, and we got to run through all the scenarios here. So, Buffalo Bills, they clinched the AFC East title with a win. With what this team has done and where they were at one point in the season, and they were the 12 seed at one point 6 weeks ago or whatever it was.
Yeah, it was 11 or 12. They were.
Yeah, and now they can go be the 2 seed, and they can go win the AFC East. So. Buffalo wins, they clinch the East, and they are in the playoffs. There's some crazy tie scenarios as well. If they tie and then the Steelers lose, they can still win the East. But that's what we're talking about right now. The Buffalo Bills have not clinched a playoff spot yet either, and it's a wild scenario where the Buffalo Bills could even not make the playoffs. The Dolphins already have clinched a playoff berth, but they still need a win here to clinch the East over the Buffalo Bills. So this is for the division. Bills, Dolphins, whoever wins the division. Still very likely the Bills make the playoffs if they don't win, but there's a scenario which I don't even have in front of me right now that the Bills don't even make the playoffs still. So that's one thing that is interesting with this game. Motivation everywhere. Buffalo favored by 3. This is at Miami. I'm taking the home dog points, man.
Me too. If this was in Wichita, Kansas, I'm taking Buffalo all day long. But I think Miami is much better at home. They don't have a lot of signature wins, and they have a lot of injuries. But I think they can at least keep this close. Nobody cares, but I mean, I probably will be on the edge of my seat needing the Dolphins to win this game to get the Steelers into the playoffs. I don't know that that's going to happen. But I do think the over hits. I mean, I think that you just put everything on Josh Allen's plate. I don't think 20 points wins this. We're not going to hand it to James Cook over and over. We're going to put him in the shotgun and sling this thing around and leave it all on the table and up and down the field, and team with the ball last wins type of the game.
Yeah, and that's fascinating because a lot of people are going to be rooting for the Bills to lose because the Steelers need to win plus the Bills lose to get in. I believe it's all those crazy AFC South teams.
Yeah,
if they want to get if they don't win the South, they can still get a playoff wild card if the Bills lose. They'll be looking at the Steelers loss. They'll be looking at the Broncos and the Colts and the Texans and all these teams to lose. So it's the rooting interests get really convoluted and get too deep, and we don't have time to get into all of those things. But fascinating week 18, a lot of good games, enough motivation in just about every game to be very interesting on the schedule, which is just how the NFL wants it. So great job, NFL. You did it again.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a great one to end it on too. Everyone will be watching,
Oh, for sure. That Sunday night. I can't wait for that one. All right. Thanks. And the Saturday games are great too.
Yeah, they are good.
Texans, Colts, Dolphins, and Bills. Those are the two big ones. Those are essentially primetime games, no matter when they would be played. So, and they are played right. Thanks everybody for making it.
They have to be
here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Make sure you check out Locked On Sports Today, the first ever streaming 24/7 sports channel on YouTube. Subscribe there. You can find it on your Amazon Fire. Coming to more smart TVs as well near you. Matt and I back to break it all down Monday right here. Peacock and Williamson.